today. My name is Rob Harzer, the VP of Sales here at LQ Pay, formerly known as Liquid Payments. So you guys will hear the name used interchangeably, but same company, same software. So I'm here to share, as we mentioned, all updates on the system, exactly what target market it serves, and all the value adds that it comes with to better serve your merchants and make it easier to sign healthcare customers. So, guys, first and foremost, on that note, the LQ Pay system is healthcare specific. So, we only work with healthcare merchants, but healthcare merchants of all sizes and specialties. Okay. And that's where I ultimately want to start with my presentation. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Bear with me one moment. All right. There we go. And if anybody's off of mute, can you guys see my screen right now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So, guys, traditionally speaking, right, in the healthcare environment, merchants of all sizes and specialties of their practices, they are all typically using what's considered a PMS or an EMR, a practice management software or an electronic medical record system, right? And that is their ERP software to run their business. It's healthcare specific, where they house all of their patient records, they do their scheduling, clinical notes. That is where they house all of their patient information to run their practice. And traditionally, each one of those systems, if you guys think of in dental, Dentrix is the most popular of these softwares. They typically have one embedded credit card processor that, traditionally speaking, is the only integrated payment system, where that customer goes right into Dentrix, searches for their patient's account, and right on that patient's account, they can click a button, initiate a wired card reader. Patient swipes their card, and the payment is therefore associated with their patient account with inside of that software. A very seamless experience. But with that, typically comes the highest rates and fees because there's typically one of those embedded processors. And because it's a captive audience, traditionally speaking, in terms of integration, they charge whatever they want. They also lack in particular payment features, most of them, like text and email to pay, even online payments from time to time. And of course, they also lack in customer service from a merchant services perspective because they just come with that software. You sign up for Dentrix, you can also get WorldPay, but nobody was teaching you how to use it and not a merchant services expert. But traditionally, again, the only other option that that practice would have would be to go to a standalone ISO provider, perhaps, where you guys put a standalone credit card reader or a gateway or a combination thereof to give them all of the payment features that they want and need for better rates and fees, right? Better customer service. But the sacrifice for that practice is breaking that integration. And what that ultimately means is they would have to manually post all payments back into those patient ledgers with inside of whatever corresponding software platform they're using. And that number one pain point, manually posting those payments back over to their practice management system, is what the LQ Pay software solves for. Guys, we use robotics technology to quite literally automate what a human staff member would otherwise have to do in manually posting a payment back into an unintegrated system. What I mean by that is that with our entire platform, and it is an omni-channel software, so we use PAX A920 devices for the in-person hardware, but we combine that with a virtual terminal or online portal, which I'm going to take you to in a couple minutes, which is what you're looking at here. And with every form of payment that we offer, there is this patient reference number field. And I want you to think of it this way. If I picked up this PAX device and I just typed in $50 and swiped a credit card, I would be paid that $50 as the merchant, but that payment would not post into my corresponding software. If I simply entered that patient's patient ID number, Rob Harzer is chart number 22431 inside of the Dentrix system. Well, if I simply entered that when taking the payment as the staff member, I have told the LQ Pay software, post this payment to patient 12345. And sitting between my system, our payment software, and their practice management or EMR software is our robotics technology. It is quite literally like programming a virtual user of their software that is designed to do one thing and one thing only, and that is post their payments for them. When a payment is taken through our card readers or through any form of payment through the online portal, as long as this patient ID number is associated with the transaction, as soon as the payment actually goes through, our robotics technology would be logged into their software system, just like any other staff member at that practice with a username and password, sitting on its own computer, and it will be searching for that patient ID number and going through the step by step process of posting that payment so that the merchant does not have to. Guys, what you're viewing here in this recording is our robotics logged into Dentrix. It searched for chart number TE0034. And as you can see here, it does typically take about 30 seconds. But when it gets to this screen, this is where a human staff member would otherwise type in $25 was paid via credit card, whatever else they want to manually enter, and they click that OK button at the bottom. And that is exactly what the robotics technology will do as long as the patient chart number or unique identifier for the corresponding software is associated with any form of payment that we offer. Okay. So, guys, I'm going to stop there. And what I want to do here, real quick, is talk about the sales process and the robotics technology as a whole, because this sets the tone for the remainder of the demonstration. You knowing that as we go through each payment feature that we have to offer, as long as that ID number for the patient is there, the payment will post. Well, how does it post, right? Or how is it set up? Okay. Just like having a physical human being sitting in their office manually posting payments into Dentrix, that human staff member would be sitting at their own desktop computer in that office, searching for the patient ID number and going and manually posting that payment. Well, our robotics technology works the exact same way. And that little computer you guys saw on the screen before, I have one in my hand here. It's about the size of a Wi-Fi router. Okay. We give this to the customer now free of charge. These are $400 plus tax and shipping otherwise. And this is quite literally Mr. Robot's computer. Okay. They set this up in their office, doesn't need a screen, a keyboard, or a mouse permanently connected to it because nobody is sitting at this computer. Our robotics technology is inside of it, and they download their software to it, give it a username and password, and we log it in. And then whenever a payment is taken from a PAX device, from any of the payment features through the online portal, it's like every time the payment goes through, if that patient ID number is tied to it, an instant signal is being sent to this computer where Mr. Robot is sitting, and he is posting that payment so that the merchant does not have to. Okay. Now, the second component here, how do we program the robotics technology to post payments how they want it to do so? What I'm talking about is every practice has a different payment allocation methodology. If I, as a patient in Dr. Dental XYZ's practice, have three open charges on my account, I was in there for a cleaning and a root canal, and maybe I bought a toothbrush and I owe 500, but I pay that practice a partial payment. They charge $200 on my card through the PAX device. Well, where do they want that $200 posted, right? To the oldest charge line of the three first, the newest charge line, split that $200 amongst all three charges. There's a lot of different ways to actually allocate that payment to what the patient owes in their system. So we always customize the robotics technology. And this is important for the sales process, guys. You guys will schedule a demonstration with us, an LQ Pay account executive, so that we can demonstrate the system just as I'm doing today and explain to that customer patient ID number, payment will post. But we always have a second step in our sales process before the merchant can sign up. And that's what we call our workflow review call. The whole purpose of this call is for the merchant to show us this is how we would otherwise manually post payments into our system. And by the way, if they're already using an integrated payments processor, they undoubtedly have to manually post cash and check payments that they receive from their patients today. So no matter what, they know how to manually post payments. They would show us how they manually post payments so that we can confirm with them exactly what their live experience is going to be and ultimately be able to program their robotics technology to mimic or automate how they manually post payments. So it's after that second step in our process called the workflow review call, which my account executives will attempt to schedule at the end of the demonstration with you guys and your customer on the demo. That is where they will show us how they want payments to post so that we can then sign paperwork after that second step in the sales process. Okay. And between the demo and the workflow review call, you guys would have a full pricing proposal from our end. We'll give you guys that pricing information. The team already has it. We could talk through that a little bit later on in this call. But you guys just submit a statement to us. We give you back the pricing for each customer. So that can be before or after the demo. You guys are to communicate the pricing along with your merchant services pricing to that customer. So on that note, I'll touch on that very briefly. You guys own the merchant account outright, right? You board it in a particular fashion that our system can connect to it. So we charge the merchant separately for our SaaS fees for utilizing our platform, but you guys are still setting the rates and fees on the merchant account and own that outright. Okay. So, guys, with that said, that is an overview of how the robotics technology ultimately works for every form of payment that we offer and how we set it up with the customer during the sales process. So, I'm going to share my screen back and I'm going to go now and take you guys through running some actual live payments. So, let me go ahead and share my screen again. There we go. Okay. So first and foremost, guys, on the PAX device, it is completely wireless. You can pick it up and take it anywhere throughout a practice, and it has all the tap to pay technology, of course. So when they pick it up, the most manual process would be for them to have that in their hand while they're looking at the patient's chart in Dentrix or whatever system it is that they're utilizing. They type in the dollar amount that that patient owes, and then they type in that patient's ID number. The last thing it will ask them to enter is the patient's phone number, and that is technically optional. If entered, it will enable a text message receipt to go to that patient, and it will also enable the automatic tokenization of the credit card that is used to make this payment. The patient would then provide their card, staff member swipes, taps, inserts it. It would tell them that the transaction is complete. On the device itself, it will print out a paper receipt. It'll also give the option to print out a duplicate copy. And then, as long as that patient ID number was associated with the transaction, the robotics technology is posting that payment for them, as we saw in this video recording here. Okay. Now, there is a new feature where if the particular PM software, and there is a list of individual systems that I'll share with you guys what is and is not available, some of the software systems give us the ability to be able to look at their patient schedule first thing each morning so that the merchant does not always have to manually key in the patient ID number and phone number themselves. We would quite literally program the robot to look at their appointment calendar first thing in the morning, just like he's a virtual assistant, and bring over the patient information to the LQ Pay software. And what that solves for is that if the patient is on the appointment calendar, instead of manually typing in that information, I can click on this calendar icon at the bottom. It'll ask me to choose my date of visit. And when I do that, and I'm going to scroll back to an old date here because I have some limited demo data. So on February 28th in this practice, Rob Harzer was a scheduled appointment. In this search field at the top, they know I'm Rob. They don't know I'm patient 32415 off the top of their head, right? So they can search for Rob. I would show up on this screen, if you guys can see that kind of, my first name, last name, phone number, and chart number, the time that I'm on the appointment calendar, so that they can click this select button next to my name. And this is a mirrored image, so it's throwing me off. And when I select the patient, it will plug in their chart number and phone number for me. I would just type in the dollar amount and proceed with taking that payment. Okay. So for most systems, guys, we can enable that, in which they wouldn't have to manually key in the patient ID number if the patient was already on the appointment calendar as of first thing this morning when the robotics technology looked at it. Okay. And that works for every form of payment that is also available on the virtual terminal or online portal. So we're going to come back to that card reader in just a couple minutes to demonstrate a card on file transaction, which is brand new in terms of availability on the PAX device itself. And I say that because everything else, all other forms of payment, they don't need that PAX device whatsoever. They can log into our virtual terminal from anywhere, okay? And if they are a multi-location merchant or a multi-mid merchant, they will have one corporate login and be able to toggle between all of their individual practices or individual mids. And by the way, guys, on that note, I am pretty confident in saying that If it is a multi-location practice, and let's just say I own two dental practices, Liquid Dental Care and Liquid Healthcare. Let's just pretend that's the other name of the practice. Liquid Dental Care might be using Dentrix. Okay. So when I'm under my Liquid Dental Care office location and I type in a patient ID number here and run a payment, that is posting into Liquid Dental Care's Dentrix software. Liquid Health might be using EagleSoft, another very common dental software. Well, what I'm getting at, guys, is that we are the only system, to my knowledge, in which the customer can have a consistent payments experience through one software, one online portal here, with integration to two different disparate systems on the back end. Okay. So they can have one portal, and when I'm taking payments through Liquid Health, this robot is posting into EagleSoft. And when I'm taking payments from Liquid Dental Care, this robot is posting into Liquid Dental Care software, Dentrix, if you will. Okay. So from this portal, it works the same way. I can either choose my date of visit for that customer. And if they are on the appointment calendar for that day, I would be able to select Rob's information. And if I go back over to Liquid Health, again, the dummy data in our demo portal here, this will, when I choose February 28th, render that Rob Harzer was a scheduled appointment on that day. I'd be able to search for his name, okay, and select his information, and it would plug it into these fields for me. It did just tell me that we have a card on file, but I'll show you that in a couple minutes. So Rob's information is populated. I would type in the dollar amount I want to charge him. This is a manual entry transaction, manually keying in his card information, like taking a payment over the phone. And as he reads that to me, it'll also ask me if I want to keep this card on file. Rob's phone number is entered, so he's going to receive a text receipt and it will enable the tokenization of that card. We click submit. Patient has been charged. On the left-hand side, it will say payment success. We have been paid. That payment is posting back into my practice management software. And Rob, as my patient, just received a text receipt that'll look something like this. Okay. And guys, these receipts and all text and email communications that come from our platform are completely customizable. The merchant can go to their communication report here and always be able to see all of their historical texts or emails that have gone to patients. So here is verbatim the text receipt that I just received. And this will be branded as this is a message from the merchant's office name. Call us with any questions at their office's phone number, so on and so forth. Okay. So, guys, that is how we would run a manual entry transaction through the online portal. Of course, they can run a manual entry payment on the PAX devices as well. They can always key in a card. And now I have a card on file for Rob. So the next time Rob comes back to my practice, whether I have the PAX device in my hand or I'm on this online portal, I could absolutely charge a card on file if needed. From here, the first and most obvious way, if I pop in Rob Harzer's chart number, it'll auto-populate his information. I could have absolutely selected him from the calendar dropdown as well. But from here, once Rob's information is input, it'll tell me that he has 6 different tokenized cards on file. Rob, which card do you want me to charge again today? These can all now be nicknamed. Okay. The merchant can go to their manage cards tab here at the top and change the names of these for more clear identification. Like this one is labeled as Rob's HSA card. Okay. And the dollar amount that we want to charge. Click submit. It'll charge that tokenized card. Same experience from there. Patient receives a text receipt, and that payment is posting back into my PM software. Okay. Now, that used to be the only way of taking a card on file payment in our system. But now on the card readers themselves, the PAX devices, once the patient's information is plugged into those fields, a fourth field will appear if there is a card on file where they can select any one of Rob's 6 cards that are on file from here as well, or tap and insert a new card. Okay. So I always like to say the merchants used to, if patient walked up to the front desk, they already had this ready to go, had the patient's information typed in, and then he said, oh, I left my wallet in the car. They would have had to go back to the online portal, but no longer. They can access it right there on the PAX device. And then there is one other way, guys, to charge a card on file for a singular payment. I'm going to show you recurring payment plans in just a minute, but that is the ability to take a payment directly from a previous transaction that it was used. used with. So I always like to show this in regards to a patient who has multiple cards on file, like Rob. He has 6 different cards stored in the system. If I said, Rob, which card do you want me to use today? And he said, I don't know. Tell me which one I used the last time I paid you. We can now go to our transaction report. We can search for whatever date range we're looking for and search for a payment from a patient named Rob or Harzer or chart number 22431, whatever I know about him and even the type of payment that it might have been. When I run the report, it'll find me anything that matches that criteria. And I can say point blank, Rob, the last time you paid me, it was your card on file ending in 1087. It was your Amex card on the first. Is that the card you want me to charge again today? Sure is. Well, while I'm already here, next to any one of these previous payments using Rob's Amex card ending in 1087, I can click on this charge card button. And what that will do, oops, that's the refund button, excuse me. This is the charge card button. When I click on that charge card button, it'll have all the previous information from the previous payment. I could just change the dollar amount, but it's the same card, same ID number, same patient. Click submit. It's just an easier way to go back and charge the same card that was used with the previous payment. Okay. So, guys, those are the 3 ways to charge a card on file for a singular transaction. And now we get to automatic recurring payment plans. Of course, very impactful and important for orthodontia practices. Most patients who have braces on their teeth, right, are coming in for monthly adjustments, and therefore that practice is typically charging them a couple $100 a month on an ongoing payment plan. Also important for medical practices, especially specialties, because out of network or unexpected deductible amounts, right? But regardless, large balances do that if a patient can't afford to pay it all today, we can charge it automatically over time. I put in Rob's information. It'll tell me that he has these cards on file, whichever one I want to utilize. And then down at the bottom is where we set up the terms of the plan. Let's just say Rob owes $500 and he comes in and says, I can't afford to pay that today, but I can pay you $100 a month or $100 a week. We choose our frequency. We choose the number of payments that we want to divide this into. 500 divided by 5 monthly payments is $100 per transaction on whatever date we choose, right? Today or any date in the future. And now when we click submit, it'll generate a payment schedule for this patient. We can print this, hand it to them, keep this for your records. You're going to be charged on these 5 dates. And when we click confirm, this payment plan is now officially set up to process. And at this point in time, the merchant's job is done. With most other systems, they're going to have to do one of 3 things, if not all of those 3 things. Number one, of course, process the payment if they don't have an automatic recurring system. Number two is send the patient a receipt. And number three is post the payment into their software. Our system is going to do each one of those things. It's going to charge Rob on the first of every month $100. It is going to send him a text receipt every single time, letting him know that he was charged 100 and his remaining balance due is $400. That $100 payment is already posted into my PM software, and the same exact thing is going to happen on the first of the next 4 months. The only thing that my staff will have to do is take action if and when something needs to change. Maybe a card declines, maybe a patient calls in and requests to be charged on a different day. They can take very easy action and modify anything on this managed recurring card payment plans report. I can see Rob Harzer right there at the top, all the necessary details about his plan. And over on the right hand side, we have these action buttons. If Rob called the practice tomorrow and said, hey, I can pay off my plan in full, I have $400, they can click on this button here, charge the remaining balance. If he wanted to change his credit card with them, they could do it in a number of different ways, including sending him a text message. Cancel the plan altogether, view the remaining payment schedule, update any and all patient information, and view and edit the details of the plan itself. So again, most other systems, guys, require the merchant to cancel a payment plan altogether and reconfigure a brand new one if and when they need to change the smallest thing. From our system, they could change the date, the frequency, balance, even the card on file, of course, at any point in time, okay, without canceling the plan. But the most important thing of what happens behind the scenes, if and when a card declines, so let's say on November 1st, my card fails, 3 things will happen to help that merchant keep it on track. Number one, it's going to send them an email notification letting them know that Rob Harzer's payment plan failed to process on the morning of November 1st. Number two, it'll update his plan in this report to pending updated card information until an updated card is provided and it starts processing successfully. And then number three, and most important, is the patient is going to receive a text message notification letting them know that their recurring payment plan failed to process, and the patient would actually be able to update their credit card before the merchant ever has to pick up the phone and call them. Okay. So, guys, that's our recurring billing function. The next two features that I'm going to show you here today, and then we're going to open it up for our last 15 minutes of QA, are more designed for back end billing and collection. Okay. First and foremost, most practices are still mailing out paper bills, okay, and even electronic statements, emailing them to patients. The problem is when the patient gets that bill of any form, can they pay it right then and there, or can they pay online? Most practices still don't accept online payments, okay, whether it's because their existing processor doesn't offer it or they haven't, been brought into the 21st century of payments. So regardless, with our system, we provide a hosted payments page with every merchant where they can accept payment online. So we give them this page, we give them the link. It'll have their logo, their image. We customize this to an extent, and they can put that link right on the bottom of their paper or email bills. Patient, go here to pay online. They can also, of course, publish it on their website, right? So to bring up a live example for you guys, just to put pen to paper here. Okay, here's a live customer of mine, Orthopedic Medical Group at Tampa Bay. When they mail a patient a bill, when the they open that up, it says right on the bill, go to our website, click on online bill pay, and then click pay by credit card. And now when a patient gets here, they can pay that paper bill that they have in their hand online, and they can enter in their account number or chart number. And how would they know that? Well, that should be detailed on that bill that the merchant mailed to them. Here's a redacted copy of what that bill looks like. We can enable a redacted copy behind a link so that the patient can say, oh, okay, that's where my account number is located. I am 22431. And if they proceed with making this payment and having typed in their accurate chart number, this payment would absolutely go through and automatically post back into their PM or EMR software. But what happens if and when the patient doesn't enter in their ID number at all or correctly, right? So Rob comes here and he types in a bunch of zeros when he's really 22431. What will occur is the same experience with any standalone hosted payments page, an auth.net, if you will. The patient will still be able to pay. The payment will go through. The merchant will be paid. But they'll receive an email notification letting them know that, hey, Rob Harzer just paid $5 online, but the payment did not automatically post due to insufficient patient ID number. So, what happens from there? The merchant, at the end of the day, when they're reconciling, okay, their payments from our platform to what is posted in their software, that online payment's going to stick out like a sore thumb. And they can also search exactly for it based off of that notification. Rob paid online today. So today's date, we look for an online payment from Rob. Rob online, that transaction will show up right here. And guys, in the live environment for the merchant, they would never see this blue status here. Okay. They would always see either in big green letters, payment posted successfully, or in big red letters, in this case, payment failed to post due to insufficient patient ID number. Zeros are not Rob's chart number, right? So they would see big red letters, payment failed to post. What do? They can either post it manually into their software like they would any other form of unintegrated payment, or they can click on this update patient ID number button on the right hand side. They could change it to what it should have been. And then right below this, there would be a checkbox that says, do you want this to post into your PM software? And if that is checked off, they have both updated the ID number on their transaction report in LQ Pay and have triggered the robotics technology to now post this payment as it refreshes to chart number 22431. Okay. So, guys, that's our online payments experience, hosted payments page with the ability, if the patient enters in their ID number, these will automatically post. Okay. The last payment function that I want to show you guys today, and I'll touch on insurance payments briefly. The reason I'm going to touch on that briefly, you guys will find, is because insurance payments do not automatically post for a very good reason. But the last feature before we get there of an integrated payment option, and one that can be most impactful on their back end accounts receivables and the patient experience, is our text and email to pay, which we call our contactless option here as a hybrid text or email. They can prompt a patient instantaneously on demand, asking them to pay. If I put in Rob Harser's chart number here, 22431, Rob, you owe me $25 from maybe today, maybe a future date. They can use this to collect prepayments and, of course, past due balances. Okay. When I click submit under the contactless option, this is going to send Rob a text message or email, if I put an email address in here, asking him to pay $25 for his visit on August 1st in this case. So when he gets that, the patient can click on a link right at the bottom of that text message, which again, we can customize to say whatever the practice wants them to say. Dear Rob, click the link below to pay your $40 from April 14th. When I click on that link, this is already tied to my patient information. I only have to enter in my credit card info and click pay now, because the merchant actually entered the patient's ID number, right, when sending it to them. So the system knows that that link is for Rob Harser's $25 balance from whatever date it is. And whenever he pays, the payment will post back into their software. And on their communication report here, this will show with a big red arrow if and when a text to pay has not yet been paid. So anywhere they see that on here, they can always go back. On Friday, Rob still shows as unpaid. If they click on this red arrow, double check the phone number, switch it to email, even change the dollar amount. And when they click proceed, it'll reprompt Rob to make that payment again. We can now see on the see message sent button both iterations of that text message. Okay. So, guys, before we leave here, the text and email to pay function, there are a couple other enhancements. Number one, it is no secret that this is not going to be a full itemized statement, right? We're not entering in that much information. It's patient, you owe X amount from Y date of visit. Okay. But to take it one step further, to provide that patient with more context as to why they owe, such as if Rob owes me a balance due from June 1st and he is now 90 days past due on his balance, right? I maybe already have mailed him a couple paper bills that he has not paid online thus far. Well, if I want to tell Rob that this balance is for a 90 days past due reason, I put in his information, and then we can use this last specialty field on the right-hand side. We could build a list of whatever verbiage options they want to choose from. So prepayments one here, if I chose prepayment and chose a future date of visit, for example, well, this might trigger when I click submit. Dear patient, this is a message for your upcoming appointment on October 31st. Please click the link below to make your prepayment of $25. Otherwise, pay at the front desk when you get here. So whatever selection is made in this field can trigger a different verbiage to that patient more specifically as to why they owe that balance. And it can even say, if it's the 90 days past due text message, maybe it says you should have already received 2 or 3 paper bills in the mail from us. Please refer to that bill for your itemized detail. Otherwise, click the link below to pay immediately because you are 90 days past due. Okay. So that is one way to enhance the probability that that patient is going to pay that balance, of course. And the final component here is what happens if the merchant wants to send these to a bunch of patients, right? Do I have to manually key in each one by one, submit, submit, submit? Well, not necessarily. And we are working on further technology to be able to automate this process for them. But if the merchant wants to send out a bunch of text or email to pays at the same time, they can go to our File Uploads tab and download this sample contactless file. And what this file is, it's a template spreadsheet, okay, with the same exact fields that we are otherwise entering through the online portal to send each individual text to pay, okay? And what this accomplishes is that the merchant can build a list of patients that they want to send out text or email to pays to. They can either come in here and manually type in, right, Jill Cassidy, whatever it might be, phone number, the dollar amount that they owe, patient ID number, just like Rob Harzer and John Smith here. Rob owes 150 from 824. Patient ID number, his is going to be a 60 days past due message. And whether this is two patients or 2,000 patients, when we upload it into the system, it'll read it line by line and blast out a text to pay to each of the patients contained in this file, just as if we had entered them all individually one by one. And guys, most practices to be able to complete this file in a more efficient manner than typing in individually each, so on and so forth. Typically, these practices run an accounts receivable report from their corresponding software, right? That spits out a list of patients, names, phone numbers, balances due, and they can typically copy and paste that information into that template file. Okay. So, guys, the very last feature I'm going to show you here, and then we'll open it up for questions, will be that insurance payment button, and then real quickly, voids and refunds. Now, the insurance payment button. This is solely designed not to collect all of their EFT payments and check payments from these insurance companies, but from time to time, the insurance companies, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Delta Dental, whoever it might be, will pay the practice with a virtual credit card. Okay. They fax it to them, quick remit, echo payments. These are these, one-time use card companies that work with the insurance companies. So they'll actually mail or fax a virtual card to pay Rob Harzer's claim to that practice. In doing so, they can run that virtual card through our system. However, insurance payments, as opposed to patient payments, come with what's called an explanation of benefits, right? It's a 2 or 3 page document that says, you were charged this in terms of the dental practice charged Blue Cross Blue Shield on your behalf for these charges. Blue Cross Blue Shield is paying this, contractual adjustments, copay, deductible, so on and so forth. There's a lot of financial information that gets captured. It's not just the payment, but it's the remittance for that insurance claim. So long story short, insurance payments always have to be posted manually because there's just too much information that needs to be captured and posted to the patient's chart within their software and to very particular claim numbers. So what I'm getting at is that most practices, when they take these virtual cards anyway, they are just manually processing them standalone, right? Charging the card and then manually allocating the payment to each individual patient's chart. So with our system, they would use their insurance payment button in our platform, and for very good reason. It is still distinguishing to them, right, that hey, this is an insurance payment versus a patient payment, and you're going to post this manually. Okay, so they can run all these payments through the insurance payment button here. Blue Cross Blue Shield is paying, what are they paying, right? If it's $1, okay, or however many dollars, but if it's for a bunch of individual patients because they make these bulk payments, because this payment is not going to post for them anyway, I don't have to go through and type in each patient's information. We could just charge the card by discluding the patient information. I'm going to charge this Blue Cross Blue Shield card, let's call it $1,000. I'm just going to do $1 here. And then I, as the human staff member, and they are very likely doing this manually today anyhow, am going to manually allocate this dollar payment or post it to the respective patients that it should be posted to. Okay. But again, the value of that is so that now when I, as the merchant, run my day-end transaction report, I have separated insurance payments, right? So I know at the end of the day that this insurance payment should have been posted manually by one of my staff members. Okay. The robotics posting is not enabled. Okay. So, guys, the last thing here, and then we'll move on to questions and answers, is just voiding and refunding. Even though there are so many different ways to take a payment, including having the mobile smart card readers separate from the virtual terminal, All transactions will flow back to this one comprehensive transaction report. And next to each transaction, if it is the same day, we have a void option. If it is not the same day, they'll always be able to refund. Okay. So, voiding, of course, before the transaction settles and goes to the merchant's bank account, they could choose their reason why, put a little note on that transaction, click submit, click OK, and that transaction is now voided. The robotics technology would be able to post that $100 back to the patient's account as a credit amount if they wanted it to do so. Okay. Refunding can happen at any point in time using the button next to it. Same process. We choose our reason why. We put a little note on the transaction if we want to remind ourselves why we did this. But with refunding, it doesn't have to be the full amount. They can do a partial refund. Okay. So any dollar amount up to the original transaction amount, they will be able to refund. Click submit, click OK. Transaction will go through. Patient, by the way, receives a text receipt for both the refund and the void. If we click this button here, there is the receipt. And that is how you would void a refund in our system. Okay. So, guys, I'm going to stop there. Those are the key high level points of the LQ Pay platform. We do work throughout all of healthcare. Okay. I'm going to send you guys over a list of systems that we have already worked with. However, if there is a system that is not on this list, I want you guys to know that our robotics is rather universal. Okay. So, any system that is not Mac based, so if it is a Windows based device that runs this software, or it is web based, or you can log in from a web browser, our robotics technology will be able to post into it as long as there are patient ID numbers. In other words, the only software platforms that we cannot post into today are truly Mac downloaded softwares because Mr. Robot works from a Windows device. Okay. So there are very few Mac based systems out there. There's only two that I've ever come across: Mac Practice and Tops Ortho. Those are the only two truly no go systems that I'm aware of just because they are Mac based. All other platforms are either web based or cloud based, meaning from that computer, the robotics can open up a web browser and log in, or they are downloaded to that Microsoft device. Okay. So as long as there's patient ID numbers, the robotics technology should be able to post into any software that even isn't on our list of systems. John, I see your hand up, my friend. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks for your time today.
Of
A couple
course.
quick questions. One is, does the actual payment amount ever sync to the device, or are they always going to have to manually enter the payment amount?
Yeah, they will at this point in time, John, always have to manually enter the payment amount. Because the payment is not originating from within inside of their software. So it is a unilateral integration in terms of the robotics is posting the payment back into that system. Okay. We are, though, working on new technology available for a list of systems that we call our Synapse experience. And this is being released here soon. I'm going to pull up a video recording to give you guys a sneak peek of what this will entail. And it will be just that, the ability to drive or initiate the transaction from directly on the same screen as their PM or EMR software. So this is hot off the press, guys. I'm going to go ahead and bring up a video recording. Bear with me 1 second. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. This too will be on the list of systems that I send over to you guys updated today. I'll send that over to the support and management team. There are now 5 systems, okay, in which this new experience that we call Synapse is going to be available for. And what this entails is the customer, as opposed to the robotics technology, that will still be a function of the platform for all forms of payment that originate from our online portal as they do today. But with the Synapse experience, their individual desktops in their office, like the laptop that we're viewing on this recording here, will be able to download our LPA Synapse file. So, this file that you see in the tray on the bottom right in this screen, this is running in the background on this merchant's desktop. And what this enables is now when they go into the Dentrix software and they go to the patient's account, which is what he's doing here, and they click on this payment button. That payment button, oops, and I know it's a little grainy here. I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. So, this payment button that he is clicking right here at the top of the screen, guys, that button is what enables the WorldPay credit card processing. Okay. The one embedded processor that comes with the Dentrix software. Because our software is running on the background of this computer, when they click on this button now, it will bring up an LQ Pay pop-up on the right-hand side. From this pop-up, they will be able to choose their PAX device or a card on file and click submit. And when they do so, it will initiate the transaction either to charge a card on file or initiate the payment to the PAX device itself, i.e., sending the $3 payment amount that she just entered from that screen to the PAX device. And guys, I know this is grainy here. There we go. I'm just going to play it one more time because it's buffering. And from here, right, patient is swiping, tapping their card. And when the payment goes through, we will see transaction complete, payment success. I'm fast forwarding here a little bit, and we look back at the screen. And the robotics technology, or I should say the Synapse experience, has the transaction ID number, last four digits of the card number, and the payment amount already posted without the merchant ever having left their screen. Okay. So, guys, that is what we call our Synapse experience. That's going to be an absolute game changer. They will be able to initiate the payments to those PAX devices or charge a card on file without leaving the software. They will always still be able to go to the online portal or virtual terminal and leverage the robotics technology where they would have to put in the patient ID number and dollar amount themselves. But when using that component of the experience, they will not have to type in dollar amount externally. They won't have to even pick up the PAX device. It will initiate the transaction directly to it. Okay. So that's hot off the press, guys. Very exciting. That'll compete even much more with the embedded processors inside of these systems. Okay. John, any further questions there?
Um, Not about that. That looks good. What about cards on file that have expired? Is it pretty simple to pull a report, and can you send out a link to update?
So they can send out a link to update a card and ask the patient to provide an updated card via text, but we are not integrated for auto account updater, nor can they run a report in our system to see all expired cards. The expired cards will be removed from the cards on file if they are no longer valid, but again, no auto account updater. If the merchant requires it or requests it, we can send them a file on the first of every month with all of their cards that are set to expire in the upcoming month, things of that nature. But we do not have auto account updater currently today.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
We have,
Guys, anybody else? Yeah.
yes, we have quite a bit of questions that have been coming into the chat.
Oh, perfect.
The first one, I recall this one coming in during while you're discussing manual entry, and it says, does this work for eye doctor locations as well, specifically iCloud Pro?
iCloud Pro, I actually have not heard of if that's the EMR software that this practice is likely using. Based off of the name iCloud, we will likely be able to work with it as long as they have patient ID numbers. But I do not believe that we have used the robotics technology to post into that software thus far. But yes, we absolutely work in ophthalmology and optometry practices of all sizes and specialties. So we have a bunch of clients in eye care, but that particular software system does not ring a bell.
If
Okay.
if one quick follow-up there, if I wanted to schedule I guess a call with the team there, it's been about a year since I've engaged with them. Again, they were one of those ones that, hey, I didn't want the 2 extra button clicks on the side portal. So if I can do this and we can get this integrate, there would be this would be a really good one to kind of test out for sure.
Okay, got for the new Synapse experience, right? Eliminating
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
second the 2 clicks. Yeah, absolutely. So I can say that Synapse is not available for that particular system yet. But I will check on that software, and if we have a current customer using it, we'll try to get Synapse built and enabled for them, so that
That'd be
it's
great because I've
available
got
for that
they
system.
actually this particular doctor has 2 locations and they do quite a bit of volume, so I'd like to have that one. So
Absolutely. So that was iCloud Pro,
yes,
correct?
it's actually called
Okay.
iCloud. Yes, the name's kind of from well, a misnomer here, but it's actually iCloud Pro. Yes.
Got it. Okay, perfect, perfect. I will definitely check in on that software.
The next question is, how do most of the integrated payments work with medical softwares? Would a common objection be that they don't want another portal to have to go to for billing, or do most of the EHR, EMR systems require a separate billing portal?
Very good question. And no, so the experience is right inside of that software, very similar to our new Synapse experience. That is what the merchant does if they're using the integrated processing today. They go right into the patient's account with inside of Dentrix, click on a payment button, and then depending on what that embedded processor's capabilities are, payment features, they would be able to select text to pay. They would be able to choose run the card on the POS device, charge a card on file. So that is the most common objection to your point is we have to leave our software, go out to another screen, even though copying and pasting a patient ID number is so much less work than having to manually post all those payments back over. They don't have to leave that software platform today to initiate a payment. So that is the most common objection and or pain point, and that is exactly what the Synapse experience is designed to more closely mimic is that embedded processing experience inside of the PM or EMR software.
So we're basically, sorry, I just follow up on that. So basically, if we're selling this, the main selling point is we're going to simplify, and I apologize, I showed up a little late, so maybe you talked about this. We're going to simplify your whole process so you don't have to leave, correct?
Correct. So guys, if we and this will be valuable. If we go back to my initial slide here in the presentation, I present to customers who are already integrated, right? They are not using a standalone terminal with an ISO and having to manually post their payments. Those customers, I explained to them that customer, you are over here, right? You are using WorldPay embedded inside of your Dentrix software. And yes, you have a seamless payments experience, but you may or may not be, and you tell me, getting charged high rates and fees by WorldPay, might not have text or email to pay. I don't know. You tell me, right? What payment features do you and don't you have? And are you getting good customer service from that embedded processor? Well, traditionally, right, the only other option for you to improve your experience with any of these red lines would be to break that integration altogether and go to Pay Compass, and they could set you up with a standalone terminal and a gateway that gives you all your payment features that you need, right, for the best rates and fees, but you would have to manually post your payments. And that is exactly what the LQ Pay software solves for. We are the only other option, the only payment system that sits externally in which all forms of payment that we offer can automatically post by you simply entering in the patient ID number instead of you having to post all your payments manually, right? Whereas if this same customer was not integrated today, there's no reason to open Pandora's box. Hey, that software you're using might have an embedded processor. Well, no, Mr. Customer, you are currently using XYZ ISO's standalone terminal, right? So you pick that device up and have to manually post the payment back into Dentrix, correct? Well, with the LQ Pay software, it's as simple as entering in that patient ID number to tell our robotics technology to do that for you so that you do not have to manually key in that patient ID number, right? So selling to a customer who's already integrated today, the selling point is not, or the value add is not, hey, we're going to improve or streamline your process. It's, hey, we're the only other option that can keep you integrated or not having to manually post your payments. And in doing so, provide you with potential cost savings, a better and more robust suite of payment features to help impact AR and back end balances due, text and email to pay online payments. Whereas if I'm presenting to a customer who's already standalone, manually manually posting their payments, well, then yes, the robotics technology is the best value add in the world, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense, Nick?
Yeah, no, that makes 100% sense. So, yeah, and I
Perfect.
apologize. Like I said, I didn't see
Oh,
those slides. So,
no, not at all. And that's why I wanted to go back, because I think it is very valuable, right? There's a lot of different value adds of the system, but it's not a one size fits all, right? This customer might be integrated, and that's not the value we're providing. We're providing cost savings and maybe better payment features. Whereas the customer who's not integrated, we're providing the integration and full suite of payment features, maybe cost savings, but maybe not, right? Because if they have a standalone terminal for the lowest possible rates, well, they're looking at our system because they want a better, more
right.
integrated experience, right?
Okay.
So
No, that makes sense. Thank you.
you're very welcome. Great question.
The next question is, can you run non-credit cards, that is medical cards from insurance companies, cards provided by DSHS patients?
That is a good question. So any card so a true health savings account card, an HSA, FSA card, those are all Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover branded prepaid debit cards. Typically, they are now sending actual credit cards sometimes. But what I'm getting at is that our system can run any card branded card, right? It can't be a gift card. It can't be something proprietary to somebody else's system. So, Care Credit, for example, that's a patient financing platform, right? Care Credit issues a Care Credit credit card, but it can only work through their Care Credit processing network, so to speak. So we can run any Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover, Diners Club branded card, but if it is a proprietary, not on the card networks, right, we cannot run those cards. So I hope that answers your question. I have not heard of the what was that? DSHS?
Yes.
DSHS. I'll check into that. I'm assuming, is that something similar to an HSA or an FSA card? I can check on that. So I'll write that down. All right.
Thank you. The next question
Of course.
is, do you also have integration with Tebra Technologies?
So actually, yes, Tebra's I think they were purchased by another company and renamed their software, but we actually have several customers in the pipeline right now that just completed their workflow review calls, getting onboarded using the Tebra system. So I'm almost positive that the robotics technology can and will and maybe do work for that software already. So yes, we should be able to work with Tebra.
One follow-up question to that is, do you, if the merchant already has a PAX 8N20 Pro through Swipe Simple, would we be able to just reuse the same terminal if we were to wanting to integrate that through LQ Pay?
Yes, but it would need to be removed from whoever's pack store that it's currently connected to. So it basically
Okay.
needs to be wiped clean and re-provisioned for LQ Pay. But yes, as long as it's removed from whoever else's pack store, we would just
Okay.
need the serial number, add it to our pack store, and we'll be able to reuse that device.
Okay. Jackie, I'll be in touch about that with the pricing.
Okay, sounds good. The next question that we have is, who do we reach out to schedule demos?
Yeah, so guys, one thing that I offered to
Mm.
Rob Johnson a couple weeks or months ago was we can set you guys up with a co-branded landing page where you would just submit the merchant's information, what system they're using, contact info, your contact info as the partner sales rep with us. And then once that is submitted, an account executive from LQ Pay will reach out to schedule their demo. I will also provide you guys with a sales process outline document that has our direct calendar links in it.
Hey,
But
Rob,
oh, go ahead.
I'm
Yes,
sorry to interrupt you. For now though, guys, can you please run all demos through me and I'll work directly with Rob to get them scheduled.
there you go.
Just for now.
Perfect.
And then yeah, I know we're gonna work on getting the landing page and all of that stuff completed, but just for now, just run it through me and we'll keep it seamless for you.
Perfect. And Jeannie, I am going to give you another calendar link for one of my other account executives, Cody McNeil. You'll see that my calendar gets booked up very quickly. So you guys will be able to book demos on his calendar as well. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right.
And
So
there's
guys, I do have a hard stop in about 3 minutes. So any questions at all, if you guys want to shoot me in an email, I'll go through all the rest of those, but I'll absolutely answer this last one.
this last question has also been answered, but just wanted to run it by you. Surcharging is allowed.
So surcharging, not really. So we are building out surcharging for the virtual terminal as we speak. Surcharging is only available on the PAX devices themselves, okay? And it is compliant surcharging, so it would be a 3% flat rate. The problem is that you guys would need to, if we want to offer this to a customer here today, we would need a multi-mid setup. One mid to run the PAX devices on at a 3% flat rate, because the other mid is going to run all the e-com payment features that don't have surcharging capabilities. So you likely would not want the merchant to be on the same flat rate mid, because they'll be getting charged 3% flat without a surcharge to counteract. So today it is a partially baked solution. Personally, if I were to guide you guys, I would say wait to try to promote surcharging through our platform until we have it built out with all the other ecom payment features, just because the complexity that it, creates, again, just having two mids in and of itself is a layer of complexity that most merchants don't want. But then from there, it is, it is only credit surcharging, right? It's when I say compliant surcharging, the PAX device will recognize based off of its bin file that this card that is being presented to it is credit versus debit, right? So if I type in $100 and this is enabled for surcharging, when I present a credit card to this device, it is going to say credit card, 3% surcharge, yes or no. If they click no, transaction cancels and they have to start over with a debit card, right? Because they have to surcharge on all credit transactions if they are going to be using surcharging. So it's credit only, bin based, compliant surcharging, not cash discounting, not dual pricing, not convenience fees, and it is not enabled on the online portal payment features yet. So I would suggest that if you guys want to push this with surcharging, to hold off on that for a period of time. The one thing that I will say as a bit of a value add there is that every time we talk to a practice about surcharging, there is concern and pushback. They don't want to do it. They don't want to potentially piss off their patients, for lack of a better explanation, right? So it's not as pervasive in healthcare as it is any other industry still to this day, but it is becoming much more of a topic of conversation. I will say that. So we have it in the works, but it's a partially baked solution today. Okay. All
Awesome.
right. Well, guys, thank you so much for having me today. It was a pleasure presenting to everyone. I will send you guys a follow-up email with all our updated material. And then from there, just give me a shout if you have any questions at all. Jeannie, feel free to, book the demos right on mine or Cody's calendar, and I'll make sure that we get that other calendar link out to you guys. Okay. Thank you so much. All
Thank you
right.
for
Take
joining us.
care. You're
Great
very welcome.
job.
Thanks again. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.